Good morning. This is Ogle's Fish Room. I am going to try desperately hard to make a quick video today. This is my newest beta right here. I believe you all saw him in a video I did yesterday. I was trying very hard yesterday to do a video about getting back to the basics. This is only a 5-gallon tank. You have to pay a little more attention to water quality, cleaning the filters, etc., because it is so small. As you can see, everything's looking pretty good. The plants are rooted in real good to this structure. I do have some crypts over here that are in the sand. I'm trying to show my auto sinkless. Where is he? Right back there. Put him in the center. There you go. Right there. I have a lot of shrimp in here. Of course, the main character is the beta. You don't want to crowd the tank, but you do need cleaner fish. The basic part I'm trying to show is, of course, not just this tank, but all aquariums. We've got some gobies, bumblebee gobies here. I have about 6 of those in here. And that's one of the basics. The basic is that, or basic knowledge, I should say, you need to study up on the fish. And I think a lot of people that get into this hobby just to have one, beta for their grandchild or whatever it may be, they're not really interested in studying all this. This is knowledge that I've accumulated over many years, as I've stated before. I mean, I probably had my first tank by the time I was 5 years old. Now, of course, I didn't know anything then, but I'm 68 now, so I've learned a few things since then. But there's just an awful lot of knowledge that I think most people aren't interested in knowing, and that's why they don't do well in the hobby. And then they get discouraged and they quit, and I end up getting cheap tanks like this from people that are over it. But anyway, we won't get into that. The point I'm trying to make is there are just some basic things like the auto sinkless that we saw a few minutes ago. Where is he? There he is. Okay. You need a few of these because they're fantastic algae eaters. Not so much on the glass per se as they are on the leaves. They do a great job on that and the surfaces. But they are live caught. That's something that most people do not know, and because they die very easily. Now, this one I've got a couple in this tank that have done beautifully, and I've had them for quite some time. But they're in the wild. They're in thousands or millions of them schooling together, and so you buy 1 or 2, you put them in a tank, and most of the time they don't do well because it's simply not what they're used to. And of course, most of us don't have tanks that we can put a gazillion of these in, and you don't really need to do that. But I'm just saying there's certain basics that, like the goby here. Now, a lot of people look at these and say, well, they're just absolutely adorable. I want a bunch of those. Well, that's true. You are supposed to have at least 6 of these in a tank. They're supposed to like being in a group. And they do to a degree, but I never see 2 swimming together. So they're not real buddy-buddy type fish. They want to have some of their own kind in there, but they are not necessarily the kind that has to be swimming with others of their own kind. Anyway, some people say they're a little difficult to feed. So a lot of people might not be putting what they need to eat. They are carnivores. They do need a high-protein diet. But here's the little trick about the bumblebee gobies, which I'm trying to fall around, but they're doing a good job of escaping me. And that is that it has to be moving. The food has to be moving. Now, a lot of people, that if you research them, a lot of people will say, well, they just simply won't eat anything but live food. That's not true. I do not feed live food to any of my fish. but it has to be moving. Therefore, when it's falling down from the top, I try to crush it between my fingers. I try to make it very, very tiny. Just I don't like flake food, but I do use tropical, tetratropical crisp, and I grind it up between my fingers. And as long as it's moving from the surface down to the bottom, they will run over and grab it and eat it because they think it's alive. But once it hits the bottom, they are not interested in it. Now, quite frankly, the betta is very similar to that. As long as the food is moving, he thinks it's alive, he will eat it. Once it touches the bottom, he's done. Unless he's really hungry. But he doesn't seem to have much of an interest after it hits the bottom. Okay. I'm going to switch tanks here, excuse me. Okay. We're over at my 75 now. I'm not going to show all my tanks like I usually do. I'm really trying to get some information out here, and the information I'm trying to get to is most people will buy fish based on what they look like. If they like the look of the fish, they're not really studying, they're not really finding out, like for instance, the group of black neons that you see in the center of the picture here. I have 25. Now, it took me a long, this is a purchase of 5 or 6 as I could afford it until I built up a large school. They're spread out all over this tank at this point. When they first come in, they all school together, but then they get used to the idea that nobody's in here trying to eat them. At least not anymore, since I got rid of the filamatosa barbs. But, so now they're all spread out and they're everywhere in the tank, which is fine. But they still enjoy being in groups. They still are very much a schooling and community type fish where they enjoy their own company. And I like that. But what I'm saying is a lot of fish have certain needs, if you will, and to feel comfortable, to survive, to thrive, I should say, not just survive, but thrive and have a long and happy life. And not everybody is paying that kind of attention to their fish. And I understand that. If you just got into the hobby, it's something that takes a long time to learn. There are also many fish that won't get along with each other. Of course, bigger fish eat little fish, so you've got to pay attention to what their habits are. You've got to do a little research. And, let's see, I've got tons of coolie loaches here. I think coolie loaches get along with everybody. I've had them in with fish that I thought, like cichlids, that I thought would eat them, but they didn't. And they like to be in groups as well. They do not like being alone. Those little squiggly things running around in front of the camera here that you're seeing. Those are the coolie loaches. Now, I'm on a fixed income, and I do pay attention to price. You probably heard me talk about this a lot. I try to buy plants that aren't going to die on me. If I'm going to spend a lot of money on them, I would like them to last forever. Same thing with my fish. I try to get fish that are going to live a long time. And the black coolie loach does the same thing as a regular coolie loach, but the other one is prettier and is about $10 now these days. These little guys that are considered black, they're actually more, let's see if I can do a close-up, they're actually more gray or brown as compared to black, but they're referred to as black coolie loaches. Anyway, they're only $3, sometimes even a little less than that. But normally $2.99 is about the tops for these guys, because they're not considered as pretty. They're the same color. They don't have multicolors. The real pretty ones that cost about $10 are black and orange and are just breathtaking. They are pretty. Personally, I have found that the colored ones, or colorful ones, hide more. These are out 24 hours a day looking for food, swimming around. They don't care if the lights are on or not. They could care less. So they're not as shy as the black and orange ones. Okay, there's a close-up. You can see the color on these now. You know, some people just consider them dull. I don't look at it that way. To me, all fish are pretty. They don't have to be colorful to be pretty. They don't have to be colorful to be interesting. These are very interesting. As you can see, we call that the crazy coolie dance here. They do a lot of weird things. Sometimes people don't even know why, but but anyway, they don't always do this, of course. And that they've just got fed, so they're out kind of swimming around, seeing anything, finding anything. But after a while, they'll calm down. You won't even see any in the tank. They'll go hide in the caves or somewhere. I'm sorry. The point I'm trying to get to is there are things that need to be studied. There are fish that will eat plants. For instance, I might have said this yesterday, or I may not have. I was at the pet store the other day, pet supermarket, and they had an absolutely gorgeous school of about 8 long-finned rosy barbs. These things were gorgeous. They had some huge down to fairly smallish. Just a beautiful school. I would have loved to have bought them. Their coloring was more vibrant than I've ever really seen. They were bright red with black outlines. Oh, it was just beautiful. But something said, don't buy with your, heart here. Go home and research these. And I did. And I found that they are herbivores and they will eat every plant in your tank. Now, as much as I enjoyed looking at the fish, as much as I thought they were beautiful and really wanted, and they schooled nicely and wanted to school in here, and of course, as you can see with the 75, I have room for that. I really like my plants, and I've just replanted all this particular tank after getting the filamatosa barbs that ate all my plants out of here, and so I do not want that event happening again. So again, that's okay. And another example, for instance, is the yo-yo loaches. Any of the loaches will eat snails. Now, a lot of people buy these loaches. It's very pretty. There he is. And I've got, there's another one right there. He is. I've got 4 in here. Well, I bought these specifically because I had snail problems in 2 of my other tanks. I put a pair in each tank. They did a fantastic job. But they got a little frisky with one of my bettas and tore up his fins, and so they went to live in here. Okay, the point is that you can't put any snails in here. That's what they eat. I mean, that's not all they eat, obviously, but I'm saying they're voracious snail eaters. So if you have a problem with that, they're great. But once the problem's over, they're going to maybe bother other things or eat other things or whatever. You just have to be aware of these problems. And, or I hate to call them problems, characteristics of the individual fish. All these fish have characteristics that you need to understand and kind of adapt to, or don't get the fish. And so that's kind of back to the original problem I'm trying to discuss, and that is that most people that go into this hobby are just going on what looks nice, what appeals to them. They're not really, they need to investigate a little bit and find out there are just many things that you can't put together. You're going to have problems. I like a mild community tank, especially in this particular tank. I want everybody to get along. Nobody's picking on each other. Okay, there's a prime example. There's, well, he just scooted behind the, there he is. Okay. The red serpitetra. I find him to be a very pretty fish. I have 2 in here. But they are just nippy, nippy, nippy. Now, they pretty much the smaller fish in here, so they don't mess with anybody too much. But the problem I've had is I've had schools of these. There's another one back here. They will pick on each other. If they can't find somebody else to pick on, they'll just pick on their own kind. And as much as I find him pretty, I'm not going to build up another school of them because they're just nitpicky, nitpicky, nitpicky. So you need to be aware of this. I'm sorry I'm talking so long again. I meant for this to be a short video. But I just think we have to get back to basics for a lot of people we talk to that may not have the knowledge that we have, and warn them a little bit about some of the problems or potential problems. Of course, if you crowd the tank out too much, if you don't clean the filters, you're going to have fish dying, etc., etc. That's the reason for the plants, is to help clarify the water, purify. Like I said yesterday, you're putting the fish in a septic tank. They're going to the bathroom in this water, so it's up to you to cleanse the water, keep your filters up, purified and cleaned out. And unfortunately, a lot of people that don't love the hobby yet don't want to do all that work, and the next thing you know, their fish are dying and they don't understand why. So anyway, I want this to be a pleasant hobby for everybody. I want people to enjoy this. I'm not trying to be a downer here in this video. I'm simply trying very, very hard to clarify some of the potential problems in hopes that you may avoid them. That's it. Okay, enough for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful New Year's. Today is New Year's Day, 2022. And 2023. Anyway, I hope you have a great one, and take care of yourself, and I look forward to a more prosperous and happier New Year. Thanks again. This is Ogl's Fish Room signing off over Warfield. Take care of yourself. Thanks again. Happy New Year. Bye-bye.